Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. I love finding affordable ways to DIY a variety of things. Money can't buy everything, except maybe figures. I love collecting figures and recreating iconic scenes. Every figure deserved to shine on my display. So every week I ask myself the same question, and answer it by creating something I'm proud of. Join my weekly adventure by subscribing to my channel. Leave your feedback and suggestions down below. I often get inspired by your comments, and I hope I can inspire you too. Last time, I did some minor adjustments to Peter Parker and it turned out amazing. And I also combined my homecoming and far from home display into one, so they can fit into my display cabinet. Check that video out if you haven't already. Happy New Year! I hope everyone had a good winter holiday. Last Christmas, I made myself a cute little Christmas tree. It's so cute! So it made me want to look back at 2021 and see what else I've done. 2021 went by very quickly. Yet it still feels like it's 2020 in a way. I started my channel in 2020 because I wanted to do something for myself besides just going to work every day. The creative side of me just wasn't satisfied. Being able to make things and improve the way my toys look bring me so much joy. The past year or so was the most productive year of my life. Literally, all I did was work, and when I wasn't working, I was making something. Especially in December. I was posting twice a week for Spider-Man month. Oof, that was tough, but I had a lot of fun. I'm gonna go back to posting once a week now though, just so I don't get burnt out or tire myself out. And before I do that, I want to look back and reflect. Kind of rate my DIYs and see what I've learned and what my favorites are from 2021. My favorite video from last year has gotta be my Scarlet Witch video, where I made her more screen accurate. I also updated my best view diorama. Not only is Wanda my favorite MCU character, this diorama is also my favorite. This was also the first time I started using my own voice. I managed to not use my voice for an entire year, so this video means a lot to me. Another of my favorites is the Transformers Soundwave mask I made for Halloween. Believe it or not, I had the folder of reference images saved on my computer since 2015, but every year I procrastinated and never got to it. Until this year. It turned out way better than I anticipated, so I'm super happy about it. Maybe I'll finish the rest of the costume this year. Maybe. My YouTube channel has kind of become more of a customizing channel, but I've actually only started customizing not that long ago. The first figures I worked on were the Quantum Suit figures. I was scared, I didn't know where to start, and I wasn't sure if acrylic paint would work, so I was testing on my least favorite figures. I got these because I wanted the endgame Black Widow head, and it gave me a reason to try customizing on figures I didn't really care for. The final result was alright, not my favorite, but I learned a lot and gained more confidence. It also made me realize that I could use what I already have in my everyday life for my displays. Sorry for being jumpy, but I want to go back to the very first video of 2021. It was a Dragon Ball video, of course. I have a bunch of these tiny Dragon Ball figures that were completely overshadowed by my other figures. So I made mini displays for them so they could stand out more individually and as a whole. And this one was special, because it was the first time I painted styrofoam to portray rocks for my figures. This was another instance where I was testing things out for the future. Because soon after that, I did my first Marvel Legends video, not the Quantum Suit figures. I wanted my first Marvel Legends video to be done right, with a proper display space, etc. So I started with Wanda. Now you may or may not know this, but I've been working in the photography business for around 10 years now. So for this video, I really wanted to apply my photography skills on Wanda. So I was posing Wanda the same way I would with actual people. You know, finding the right angles, hiding certain flaws, and making the subject look good. For my first Marvel Legends video, I think I did well. I really like these photos. Except I had to use a stand for the flying poses and had to Photoshop it out. This made me realize how distracting the stands was. So that led me to start being more creative when it comes to levitating my figures, such as using toothpicks for vision. Aww, I love this Wanda and Vision display. I wish I could keep them this way, but I had to separate them because I had other plans for them. Soon after, I started making more dioramas for my Marvel Legends figures. The endgame final battle display is actually one of the main reasons why I started this channel. I knew I wanted to recreate the final battle scene for my display cabinet, but I wasn't motivated nor had a reason to start. So I started my YouTube channel, gave myself a reason to test out different techniques, and half a year later, after doing the WandaVision display and customizing the quantum suits, I finally felt confident enough to build the endgame final battle scene. I tackled it in sections, doing one figure at a time, so it was less intimidating. It worked out really well in the end. I'm super proud of the final result. Okay, clearly there's a theme going on here. Sometimes we give ourselves a lot of excuses to be lazy, or we fear the unknown, so we end up not being productive at all. Now everyone is unique, so this may not apply to everybody, but sometimes you just gotta set a deadline, or start small. Test it on something else first. Taking that first step is very difficult, but once that step has been taken, all you gotta do is keep moving forward. Okay, that sounds way easier said than done. Quicksilver has been staring at me for months now. I'll get to him soon. I promise. Okay, topic change. Here are my favorite figures that don't really need any customizing. Endgame Thor, Infinity Wanda and Vision, Endgame Black Widow, Infinity War Captain America. Kidding. Here are my favorite customs. Far From Home Peter Parker, Infinity War Falcon, White Vision, Venom, Infinity War Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, Captain America with the Winter Soldier Black Widow, and Infinity War Thor. And these are my favorite dioramas. Westview, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Vormir, and the library. And here are some of the things that surprised me. Peter Parker. The changes were minimal, but I really liked how natural it looks in the end. Spider-Man's webs. At one point I actually thought it wasn't gonna work. Captain America. Adjusting his goggles slightly made it look so much better. And Steve Rogers' head. It took me a few tries, but it finally looked more like him. And finally, the DIY Captain America shield. This was actually my brother's idea. I was hesitant at first because Marvel already sells actual replicas. This is still one of my most viewed videos, so I want to thank my brother for the idea. However, not as many people have seen the follow-up, where I broke the shield and made a base for it. Now it's being proudly displayed at home. And finally, here are some of my favorite random things. Miss Minutes, the flame effects for Iron Man and Rescue, the Final Fantasy VII PS1 menu, the clouds on Vormir, the Energon crystals, John Walker's stubble, Vision's books, Iron Spider's glowing eyes, the drones, Spider-Man from Far From Home, and the little various items in my Boo display. One thing I kinda learned is that paper clips and glue gun make great effect pieces. Another thing I learned is that, over time, I started not liking the oversized dioramas as much. Don't get me wrong, I still like these dioramas, but because they're so big, they don't fit in my main display cabinets. I can only put them on top of another shelf, which I have very limited space of. So I think from now on, I'll probably keep my dioramas at a certain size so they can all be consistent and can fit in my display cabinet. And lastly, I want to talk about the paint and brushes I use. This is the most common question I get, and to me it's a little weird to explain in a comment or in the video description. The quick answer is that I use acrylic paint and brushes from the dollar store, but that's not the only way to get great results. I use material from the dollar store because there isn't really any arts and crafts store nearby, but I visit the dollar store more often to buy snacks and stuff. I'm certain that there are better paint brands out there, but ultimately, what matters most is how familiar you are with the tools and materials. Each brush behaves differently. I always use the same dollar store brush, and you can actually see it deteriorating over time. The reason why I continue to use this brush regularly is because I understand how it distributes paint. It's like a good old friend that I can always rely on. Another reason why I don't talk about the colors I'm using is because the final result changes depending on how much paint you use, how much pressure you apply, how you layer the different colors. Simply stating the shade color I use isn't very helpful in my opinion, because each brand names their colors differently, and the payoff is different too depending on how much paint you apply. I do try and show the bottles when I paint so you can visually see what kind of colors I'm using. I hope this makes sense. The way I learn best is by being curious and experimenting. Do not see mistakes as failure. Learn and adapt from the mistakes and become better. I actually adapted this way of learning when I was still in high school studying 3D animation. My teacher actually never taught us any useful techniques besides the very basic. All the assignments were, go online, find a tutorial, and use what you've learned and make something new out of it. At the time, I thought my teacher was useless, but I actually really appreciate this approach. Because I wasn't force-fed anything, I was actively looking for things I was interested in, experimenting and figuring things out. The same thing happened when I was studying visual arts in my post-secondary. The professors were not holding my hands teaching me how to paint. They weren't telling me whether my techniques were right or wrong. Instead, they were encouraging me to explore, develop, and express my own style. Creativity is very personal and subjective. There's endless potential if you allow yourself to be curious. This is the kind of message I want to have in my videos too. I try to let my imagination run wild and think outside the box. The joy you get when your ideas come to fruition is priceless. Anyway, hope I didn't bore you. I'm learning along the way too. Thanks again for watching my videos. I truly appreciate it. And like I say every week, stay inspired and I'll see you next week. I can make it, so can you.